We're back at her house in Wyoming.
Janelle didn't just take a break. She got the Robyn treatment years before Robyn ever showed up. For all the chaos and dysfunction documented in Sister Wives, one of the most fascinating chapters is the one barely addressed at all.
Years ago, I was moving to Utah, and Janelle had a good career job.
Janelle's mysterious 5-year departure. She walked away from Kody and the wider family for half a decade, only to reappear just before the cameras started rolling. What happened during that exile? And more intriguingly, why did she come back?
We have 3 separate apartments in one big house, but they're all connected on the inside.
The timeline is telling. Janelle left shortly after Gabriel was born in 2001 and resurfaced around late 2006 when she purchased the Lehi house, on her mortgage no less.
So my mom passed away last night. We're back at her house in Wyoming.
Savanah was born during this so-called absence in 2004, a detail that complicates the narrative of estrangement. According to the family's own book, Janelle stayed with her mother in Wyoming, cut off contact with Kody, and eventually began seeing him again. While Christine and Mary were stuck in Utah juggling households and children alone, Kody was happily making long drives to Wyoming, treating Janelle to what she herself described as one of the best times in their marriage. Translation: Janelle got the Robyn treatment before Robyn ever arrived. This explains quite a lot.
Yes, and we have this great life now, and the house is evidence of the great life that we have.
They started to...
Janelle's children were notably close to Kody in the early years. Unsurprising, since they were essentially raised in a monogamous bubble while their father played the devoted nuclear dad. Meanwhile, the other wives soldiered on as a weary collective. One might almost admire the efficiency of Kody's favoritism. Invest in the household with the most sons, claim their athletic accomplishments as your own, and keep the wife who doesn't cause trouble conveniently content. Janelle, for her part, seemed perfectly willing to play her role.
The rotation we had with my schedule before COVID.
She was consistently quiet whenever the wives discussed Kody's lopsided time management. She could be counted on to offer the same infuriating refrain, "He's great with my kids," over and over. It functioned less as a statement of fact than as a mantra, one she repeated to herself as much as anyone else.
You know, all through the years when the kids were growing up, I was always working. I, by choice, just didn't participate a lot in the active planning of events and parties that we would do.
Her emotional detachment has always been her defining trait. If Christine was addicted to the fantasy of romance, Janelle treated Kody like a casual vice, something to indulge occasionally, then set aside before breakfast. She didn't appear to need him for much beyond sex, children, and the occasional shared mortgage.
At this point, I'm really hoping Kody has something to say or some sort of concrete plan, because I don't trust very much.
And yes, it was Janelle's financial stability that helped secure the Lehi house, tying her to the family in very practical, if not emotional, ways.
Grandma Cheryl has passed away, and I'm headed to her funeral. She's Janelle's mom.
The pressure to return must also be acknowledged. With a failed marriage already behind her, children with Kody, and likely nudging from her mother and stepfather Win, walking away for good would have been no simple option. So she went back. She chose the path of least resistance, one paved with financial ties, external expectations, and the convenient fiction that Kody was a great dad.
There's a lot of freedom. I have a lot of freedom to do what I want to do, and I get a bunch.
Perhaps this history explains Janelle's stiff, dissociated presence in the early seasons. In couch interviews, she often looked like an outsider who had opted out emotionally but stayed put physically, a body in the room but not exactly a participant. The missing 5 years were not just a gap in the family timeline. They were the blueprint for Janelle's entire dynamic with Kody. Part pragmatism, part resignation, and very little actual attachment. Robyn Brown didn't lose Mykelti. She used her, exploited her, and then discarded her. And the receipts are all there. The epilogue makes it plain. Kody and Robyn severed ties with Mykelti, not the other way around. The choice, as always, was theirs. And why? Because Mykelti committed the unforgivable crime of pointing out Robyn's inappropriate behavior at Garrison's funeral. According to Tony, it wasn't even about what Robyn did. It was about what she didn't do. Either way, the fallout was swift. Once Mykelti dared express even a hint of criticism, her status as a safe daughter evaporated. Suddenly, she wasn't allowed to cry, speak, or express a single dissenting thought. This is Robyn's pattern, rewriting history while clutching pearls. The woman who insists she never lied about the kids can't even manage the bare minimum, something as simple as, "He loved his siblings and I wish they'd gotten along better." But honesty has never been her strong suit.
And what that did is that special experience between Mykelti and Robyn.
What makes this rupture particularly striking is the history. Mykelti once sang Robyn's praises, seemingly convinced of her benevolence.
I moved in with Robyn when my dad and Robyn were first courting because she needed some help.
But did Robyn ever actually like Mykelti? Doubtful. Mykelti was simply a prop, a convenient way to prove to the audience, and more importantly to the original wives.
When Kody and Robyn were courting, Robyn just saw that Mykelti just wasn't treated very
That Robyn was the one who could connect with Christine's children, where Christine allegedly failed. It wasn't affection, it was strategy. Robyn's treatment of Mykelti is textbook covert narcissism, hypersensitive to the slightest critique, incapable of forgiveness, and always maneuvering for optics. Mykelti, meanwhile, is honest to a fault, a quality that could never survive in Robyn's orbit. Their bond was doomed from the start, because once Robyn no longer needed Mykelti as her PR shield, the mask slipped.
She puts a lot on herself. She puts a lot of all of this on herself.
The tragedy is that Mykelti herself wanted so desperately to be a bridge between the fractured families. Her hope was simple, that neutrality might buy her a relationship with her father, but the math was never in her favor. Of all his children, she was the one Kody least wanted to be stuck with. Inevitably, the charade collapsed, leaving her stranded yet again, overlooked, abandoned, and used. Robyn, of course, exploited this dynamic to her advantage. Mykelti's role as the forgotten child was perfect ammunition in Robyn's ongoing war against Christine. By pulling Christine's daughter into her camp, Robyn could publicly declare victory. "Look, even Christine's own child prefers me." Mykelti's loyalty was never about love. It was a weapon aimed squarely at Christine. When the alliance finally fractured, Robyn spun it the way she spins everything.
It's just another example of them not wanting to be a family with us.
As evidence that she and Kody were ostracized from the beginning. Another convenient rewriting of reality.
Oh, this is not a safe conversation anymore.
The broader issue is one the entire family can't seem to resist. Dangling half-truths in front of an audience that has already seen too much. They hint, they allude, but they refuse to explain, leaving viewers to piece together their fractured narratives. If privacy is the goal, fine. But then stop waving the dirty laundry like a flag while pretending the stains aren't there. At some point, selective omission becomes its own form of dishonesty. And that, more than anything, is the family's specialty.
And he felt forced to marry us. It's like, okay,
No.
all right.
Do you believe it? I don't.
Selling a romanticized version of dysfunction, rewriting the truth until it barely resembles reality, and then acting shocked when no one buys it. Robyn wanted to be the favorite wife. What she got was a broke, angry husband and a public that despises her. Robyn Brown's unhappiness is the one plot twist no one should find surprising.
I think after we moved to Flagstaff, all of us were seeing fractures.
For years, she bemoaned Kody's transformation into an angrier, harsher man since the family's Flagstaff move and the pandemic fallout. And while she's absolutely right,
it was bad before COVID. It's been 10, 12 years of bad.
Kody has devolved into a storm of self-pity and fury. She's hardly a tragic victim. Robyn wanted to be the favorite wife, not the only one. Now she's saddled with him full-time, and it turns out even she doesn't enjoy what she fought so hard to monopolize. The irony is rich.
Bought this piece of property with the intention that we would all build houses here. And since then, Robyn has bought a house.
By cornering the market on Kody's attention, she dismantled the family that once carried the financial weight of her extravagant lifestyle. With Christine, Janelle, and Mary gone, the income stream has evaporated.
But then we had to take a private mortgage on a portion of it that we just didn't have the cash for.
Leaving Robyn to bear not only Kody's temper, but also his dwindling wallet. Add in the delightful twist of child support payments, money Kody can't pull from the family pot but must actually provide himself, and one can practically hear the marital discord echoing through their McMansion. Robyn's misery is not solely financial, of course. There's also the vanity sting. The ex-wives, free of Kody, have visibly thrived, while she, who once weaponized looks as an explanation for Kody's waning interest in others, hasn't exactly had her own glow up.
I'm just blue. So pull your britches up.
Life as the winner doesn't look so radiant when the prize is a perpetually sulking husband. Her personal history provides some explanation. Raised in dysfunction, shunned in youth, and desperate for protection and provision, Robyn found in Kody the perfect partner. Indulgent enough to bankroll her whims, malleable enough to adore her unconditionally, and reckless enough to burn down his own family at her side. But the success of her strategy proved its undoing. By encouraging his worst impulses and never demanding accountability, she unleashed Kody's full monstrosity, directed squarely at herself once the competition was gone. This, after all, is the fundamental flaw in her grand design. Being the favored wife only works if there are others to outshine. Without rivals, she is simply left with Kody in his rawest, least tolerable form. She wanted sister wives to reign over. Instead, she got isolation, resentment, and the growing awareness that she will never find another man willing to torch his life for her shopping sprees. Robyn clings to what's left, but the cracks are impossible to miss.
Well, you were asking why our nanny was able to hang out with our kids and none of the other kids could.
Her bitterness radiates. Her irritation with Kody bubbles over, and the public scorn is relentless. Worst of all, she's passing her neuroses onto her children, keeping them tethered to her property as if freedom itself were a threat. Perhaps they, unlike their mother, will one day manage to break free.
I feel like if there's a will, there's a way.
Cost of lumber prices, is that really impacting the overall cost now?
In the end, Robyn won the sister wives' war. But her victory prize is a furious, broke husband, a fractured reputation, and a gilded cage of her own making. One almost feels bad for her. Almost. Christine Brown says what happened in that tiny house wasn't just awkward, it was abuse. But is she right? Few chapters in the Brown saga are as uncomfortable as the revelation of their early living arrangements.
It's like, Savanah, don't you want me to be around? No, I want to sleep with Mom.
Christine describes a household where children slept in the same rooms as their mothers, while marital intimacy was conducted with hushed tones and thin walls. She goes so far as to suggest this crossed into the territory of sexual abuse. That's an explosive claim, though the reality may be less sinister and more depressingly familiar.
I actually need to have the baby, our sweet little baby girl, she needs to be in here too.
Communal sleeping has been a feature of human history for millennia. Pioneers had babies in log cabins without soundproofing, and generations of families managed to coexist in one-room dwellings. The Browns were hardly reinventing human behavior.
Because there's really honestly no other place to put her. And so I need...
What Christine calls abuse may be more accurately described as the grim logistics of poverty and overcrowding. That doesn't make it healthy, but it isn't unique. Of course, hearing the adults at night, and Christine admits she did, casts the situation in a harsher light. Children don't want to overhear their parents' sex lives, let alone be inches away from it.
Don't look out the damn door if you don't want to see someone Kody leaving with another wife on a date.
It's little wonder the Browns later obsessed over privacy, a word that often sounded like thinly veiled code for "I don't want to listen to my husband with someone else."
No privacy for you.
She's sick.
Modern parallels are equally unsettling.
No, I'm not going to do a crib this time. I'll do bassinet for naps and stuff like that.
In certain conservative, hyper-fertile circles, solutions to this problem have included feeding a baby back to sleep while continuing intimacy, the child still present on the bed. Normalized or not, it is profoundly disturbing. One can almost hear future generations of those children scrambling for a rock with which to self-induce amnesia. Still, perspective matters. Unless a child directly testifies that this experience was traumatic, it is difficult to classify as outright sexual abuse. That said, some later choices in the Brown household defy the excuse of necessity.
Kody taking care of your kids and stuff like that, he does a great job. That's my experience.
Solomon and Ariella shared Kody's bed for years, long after space and resources were plentiful. Unlike the cramped Lehi years, when Maddie revealed that Savanah avoided exposure by sleeping with Janelle on non-Kody nights, these decisions weren't born of desperation. They were choices, and unsettling ones at that.
I think half of me is for and then the other half is against it.
In short, the Browns' communal sleeping is less a shocking revelation than a reminder. History may explain these dynamics, but it does not excuse them. The line between survival and dysfunction is thin, and in the Browns' case, the line was crossed often, sometimes by circumstance, sometimes by design. They want you to believe the Brown family split because of COVID. But here's what they're not telling you. It was never about the virus.
That has happened with how Kody's been with COVID and how rigid he's been with COVID.
The family fracture during COVID is often explained in a tangle of excuses. But one overlooked culprit is Robyn's talent for weaponizing hypochondria. From the moment the pandemic began, she wrapped herself in a cocoon of fear so suffocating that no one else was permitted a semblance of normal life.
Anymore in his communication, and maybe it's because Robyn is the only one that he really is with anymore.
Conveniently, Kody became her mouthpiece, enforcing draconian rules, while Christine and Janelle, armed with common sense, recognized the absurdity. Of course, Robyn's supposed terror of the virus never stopped her from indulging in contradictions.
You were asking why our nanny was able to...
The nanny could come and go daily, but children were barred from seeing one another. She and Kody were seen at restaurants and shopping malls without masks, reportedly unvaccinated, yet insisted the rest of the family submit to restrictions worthy of a biohazard lab. Robyn even declined to visit Mary after an injury because one of her children had the sniffles, yet was perfectly fine dining out with the same child strapped into a car seat. The rules bent effortlessly whenever convenience demanded it.
Just realize that Kody has made these rules.
Some argue she was genuinely afraid of both COVID and the vaccine, but fear is only part of the story. Robyn has long used illness, real or exaggerated, as a way to avoid active parenting, to outsource care to a nanny, and to maintain isolation from the family at large. In the end, it was not public health driving these decisions. It was preference.
This is like literally the backfiring of all my COVID rules right in my face.
Meanwhile, Kody, whose fragile authority was tested by wives unwilling to bow to his arbitrary edicts, seized the opportunity. He doubled down, not out of concern for safety, but out of ego.
Now with some prompting from Robyn, he's come around to, well, there has to be a conversation.
If Christine and Janelle had handled the pandemic with practicality, Kody would have followed suit, if not for Robyn. With her anxieties and his hunger for control, COVID became the perfect excuse for them both. She avoided family entanglements.
Do you know what he really means? Misbehavior. Your misbehavior.
And he punished anyone unwilling to kneel. The virus may have been real, but the Browns' implosion was fueled just as much by Robyn's selective hypochondria and Kody's swollen ego as by any pathogen. Christine says Kody mistreated her kids. So why is TLC pushing a storyline about David hanging out with him? The new season wastes no time insulting its audience's intelligence with the ludicrous suggestion that Christine's husband, David, and Kody might be socializing. If Christine's own book is to be believed, where she details years of Kody's mistreatment of her children, particularly Truly, then the very idea is preposterous. No woman in her right mind would hand her new partner over to play golf with the man who terrorized her family. But then again, no one is here for authenticity. David, we're told, doesn't like being paid for appearances. Yet curiously, here he is, smiling for the cameras, trudging along with storylines so phony they make Janelle's infamous drink at the bar look downright organic. If the paycheck is big enough, integrity is negotiable. The show, in truth, has been running on fumes for years. Kody has no marketable skills outside of monetizing dysfunction, so of course he's determined to wring every last dime out of TLC before the curtain finally drops.
And so I'm not going to be circumvented in that.
He and his last remaining wife have grown quite accustomed to the lifestyle the network bankrolls, and dignity was the first casualty of that arrangement.
She'd been, you need to reconcile with Barry.
It is particularly galling to see the family try to spin narratives about healing and reconciliation when the reality has always been far uglier.
What happened? They will be able to sit in their homes and watch.
From the beginning, they exploited not only themselves but their children, turning private trauma into a revenue stream. The pursuit of money has been relentless, from reality TV checks to the revolving door of dubious MLM schemes. At no point has anyone opted for the radical act of simply getting a job. What once drew audiences in, the messy, relatable spectacle of a family grappling with an unconventional lifestyle, has long since evaporated. At first, there were genuine moments, protagonists and villains alike, that gave viewers something real to connect with. But the longer the cameras rolled, the clearer it became that there was nothing authentic about the story being sold. This was never about faith or family. It was about leverage, fame, independence, rebellion, and most of all, money.
Where I am going to be watching the first episode of this season, and I get to talk about it.
The unwritten rule of reality television is simple. Skeletons may be tucked away for a juicy tell-all down the road, but the core premise must at least resemble the truth. In this case, the entire foundation was a lie, and if audiences had known from the start that even the Browns themselves didn't believe in the fantasy they were peddling, few would have bothered to watch at all. Christine didn't just leave Kody. According to him and Robyn, she committed treason. Here's why they see her as the ultimate betrayer.
You're either in complying with our standard or...
Trying to unravel the logic of Kody and Robyn Brown requires entering a parallel universe, where family is less about kinship and more about ownership. In Robyn's worldview, steeped in the remnants of AUB doctrine, Kody isn't part of the family. He is the family. Everyone else merely holds membership, expected to grovel in gratitude for whatever crumbs of time and money he decides to dole out. After all, the mission statement doesn't say the Brown family, it says the Kody Brown family. Subtle difference, enormous implications.
I'm angry about Christine leaving the family. We never made an official agreement.
This explains the couple's obsession with Christine's departure. While the rest of the world cheered her on for finally escaping, Kody and Robyn framed it as treason against the throne. To them, Christine didn't just leave a marriage, she betrayed the family, which, by their definition, means Kody himself.
Well, lack of loyalty.
Well, that's different. You need to stop pointing fingers at Sister Right.
Betrayal demands punishment, shunning, denial of assets, and a forced pilgrimage of apology and submission. Loyalty, on the other hand, is rewarded handsomely. Robyn secured her spoils by staying close during COVID and during Christine's exit, ensuring that in the royal couple's minds, all resources flowed to her and her children.
That's just a cheap version of what our family was.
The Christmas debacle after Christine's split exposed just how far this delusion went. Kody and Robyn expected the family to rally at their home, as if Christine's existence should be scrubbed from the record. The idea of celebrating on neutral ground was unthinkable because, in Kody's mind, there is no neutral ground. There is only his house, his hub, his domain. Watching the family refuse to play along, choosing instead to stand with Christine, was a rare moment of justice. Robyn, in a fit of fury, called the gathering a cheap version of family. Translation: she was enraged that loyalty wasn't bought with Kody's self-proclaimed authority.
I'm going to keep the proceeds from selling my house and put it towards the next house that I purchase.
At the heart of it, both Kody and Robyn operate with the same narcissistic currency. They don't care for each other so much as what they can extract from one another. If their relationship ever collapses, the fallout will be less breakup and more nuclear winter. Kody's philosophy is simple. What's yours is mine, and what's mine is also mine. His wives may have thought their homes belonged to them, but he always considered everything: houses, paychecks, property, his to divvy out like allowances.
Christine's decision to sell her home and still hand over property to Coyote Pass infuriated him, because in his accounting, that money had always been his to begin with.
These mortgages are a real financial challenge for us. It's more important to have that.
And here lies the flaw in his empire: modern financing.
Right now, my name is the only name on this house.
Mortgages and titles required the wives to actually have property in their own names. It was the one loophole that prevented Kody from maintaining absolute financial control. Without it, Robyn's claim that the original wives owe her money for daring to leave would have gone unchecked.
As I've sat here and watched our episodes, what I've seen from Janelle is that Janelle is punching a button.
In Kody and Robyn's ledger, loyalty is the only valid currency, and the bill always comes due. Trust me, you'll want a seat for the next twist. Hit subscribe.